All right, let's talk commodities with Damilola Akimbami, the head of research at Financial Derivatives Company. Good morning, Dami. Good to see you.
Good morning, Chimeze.
Well, I'm sure you were listening to my conversation with Victor Lehman, the trade negotiator. We're talking about the AfCFTA, the takeoff January 1. But then, one issue again there, the border closure.
Yes.
Now, there has been this talk whether or not the border should be reopened. If this remains shut, what happens? What's the implication for this trade deal?
Oh, well, it's unlikely that it will remain shut if Nigeria wants to comply or adhere to the rules and regulations of AfCFTA, because what the African Free Trade Continental Agreement is all about, free trade, movement of goods and services within the continent. So you can't have your border closed if you are going to adhere to this. And we've seen mixed signals from different public officials in the government, some in support of the removal, while others are insisting that the border should remain closed for whatever reason. But the thing is, to an extent, yes, we've seen some gains from the border closure, at least in terms of smuggling and what have you. But then still, look at the larger picture. What does Nigeria stand to benefit from this AfCFTA agreement? Because now that we've ratified it, Nigeria is the largest African market, so Nigeria stands to benefit from that huge economic size that's going to occur, that trade block that's going to occur from the agreement. Also, the fact that Nigeria is the largest market, you have the market size. A lot of multinationals and all these global organizations would want to open shop in Nigeria and from there sell their goods. So Nigeria stands to benefit from the localization of industries and having the likes of Nestle and other big manufacturing companies establish their factories in the country before they roll out these commodities. And also, the catch there is, while yes, Nigeria stands to benefit from these, we are going to see a reduction in government revenue from tariffs, because another part of the agreement is that there's going to be a reduction in the import tariffs to encourage the free movement of goods and services. So that is a catch which would offset whatever gains the government is going to benefit from the increased market size.
Well, you heard him talk about the fact that I mean, it's not about ratifying. It's about being able to take advantage of whatever opportunity that this deal presents.
Yes.
Now, are you concerned that perhaps Nigeria is not ready, or are we ready? Looking at the situation of things, look at what's happening in the ports. He did mention the ports, and he gave some instances and all that. I mean, you go into the field, you see what is happening. Are you concerned?
I think the major concern right now is that does Nigeria actually have what it takes? Do we have exports? Like if you even look at the Q3 trade report numbers that were released, basically it's just oil that we have as our major export. So to benefit from this, we have to have something that we're selling. So look at the domestic production capacity of the Nigerian economy. It's very low. The manufacturing capacity is also very low. So we need, for us to benefit from it, we have to have the goods that will be competitive and would be able to compete with other international and regional products. But right now, I don't think we have that. And I think that's the major concern a lot of Nigerians, both policy authorities and even investors are concerned about, that even if Nigeria needs to Nigeria has a lot of opportunities, but what goods are we going to sell? I think that's the major issue, because we don't want, again, that the country would be a dumping ground, because you have to, there's going to be intense competition, definitely. And if your goods can't compete with the goods that are being traded, then you're going to see the shift to other countries' commodities. And that, I think that is a major concern. The issue of port also, definitely, we know that if you look at the Apapa, the gridlock, the amount of traffic it has caused, it has affected supply chain disruptions. These are other issues that need to be addressed, because if you are trying to grow your trade sector, you have to also improve the logistics chain of it.
You're talking about competitiveness here, and you did mention oil commodity, which of course is about where we gain our foreign exchange. Yeah, we've seen the new lockdowns in various areas, and that is having some kind of impact on the oil, outweighing even the vaccine news. Last week, OPEC or OPEC Plus took a decision on what they have to do come January. So how do you see this scenario playing out eventually even into the new year, and even as we sign up, or if this AfCFTA takes effect, and then we are having oil as our only commodity for foreign exchange.
Yes,
What's
so
the implication of all of this scenario playing out in the global oil market now for Nigeria?
Yes, so right now, the next 3 months are very critical for oil prices. And by that, I mean, one, because by January, OPEC Plus, based on the agreement they made recently, they're going to increase supply by 500,000 barrels per day. Also, Iran has started installing or preparing installation for production because it's anticipating that the sanctions, the U.S. sanctions, are going to be eased. And so that's going to occur in the next 3 months. We know that Libya is still ramping up its production, so obviously that increase in supply. So all these fundamentals are still in favor of an oversupplied market. And the only other factors that could counter that from the demand side, we're seeing, yes, there's a recovery in Asian fuel demand, and we can see that China, which is the second largest oil consumer, is also reporting improved, a very significant trade surplus. So we can see that there's a recovery in China. The demand is picking up. Even the Purchasing Managers Index increased for the 9th consecutive month. So yes, we are seeing demand slowly pick up. There's news also of the vaccine distribution, the rollout in the UK, and possibly maybe in the US in the next couple of months. So these are some of the factors that could limit to an extent the impact, the depressing impact of this supply factor. So that's why I said these next 3 months are going to be critical. So by January, February, even up to March, we are going to know, obviously, by how much the vaccines have been distributed, how widely spread they've been distributed, if the spike in countries like the US, UK, Germany, if the spike has eased or if it's even spreading to other countries. So because these factors will determine the dynamics of oil prices. But in the short term, between now and then, by the end of Q1 2021, we feel oil prices will continue to trade around $48, $49 per barrel. And for Nigeria, it's our major export. It accounts for 81% of our total exports, at least as at Q3. That's where we get most of our Forex receipts from also. So definitely, the oil price dynamics will affect Nigeria. And if by January, when more clarity is shared about how OPEC Plus is going to administer the ease in output cuts, and Nigeria, for instance, gets a relaxation of its output quota, then we can produce more. We can actually benefit and leverage on that increase in production to offset lower prices.
Okay, let's look at agri-export. Cocoa, for instance, is Nigeria's major agri-commodity export. And, of course, we've seen Ghana election. Ghana is also a great producer of cocoa. And your slide says, incumbent expected to win positive for cocoa market. Now, with the border still closed, how will that, I mean, we have cocoa as one of our major agri-export, and then we're having this border closure, and then we're having Ghana, just by the neighboring country there, great producer of cocoa, and then we have this AfCFTA. How will this play out?
So unfortunately, Nigeria is not a major cocoa player or cocoa producer. And cocoa, if you look at our non-oil export, cocoa is about 3rd or 4th largest non-oil export for Nigeria. In Q3, we just produced about 12 billion naira worth of cocoa, and in terms of tons, that's about 250,000 tons. So we don't really impact or play that much impact on prices globally. And what is happening in Ghana, the elections held yesterday, and the 2 participants are familiar faces, John Mahama and the incumbent Nana Akufo-Addo. Although it's likely that the incumbent is going to win, and that is good for policy continuity because obviously we expect the ongoing policies to continue, and that's positive for cocoa prices. Ghana is the 2nd largest producer of cocoa. And what we're seeing right now that is playing out in the global cocoa market is that cocoa prices have been increasing, and that's because of the price war between Ivory Coast and Ghana and the US American chocolate companies, Hershey's and Mars. And they've been having this issue over the living income differential, which is actually targeted at improving the livelihood of farmers, addressing issues of child labor and deforestation. But now that to an extent it seems like the COPEC, that is like the cocoa cartel, they've come to terms with Hershey's and Mars. So we should see cocoa prices stabilize. And for Nigeria, yes, we produce cocoa, but like I mentioned...
Well, that price war, is it possible that Nigeria can actually take advantage of it to,
So that's what I was just about to say. That we can't take advantage of it. But again, how much are we producing? We're not producing enough. And again, the currency has been devalued. Typically, when your currency weakens, it makes your exports more competitive. So you see like countries like China have actually adopted that as a strategy where they devalue their currency so that their exports can become cheaper and they can sell more. But again, Nigeria doesn't have that much exports. Cocoa, we don't produce that much. We're not that competitive. So yes, it would definitely impact positively on our trade balance, which has the deficit has widened significantly. This is the highest level in 3 years. So we need all the help we can get. And bear in mind that this is the cocoa producing season, the cocoa harvest season in Nigeria. So now that we're in the harvest season, we're producing, we should be able to take advantage of the price increase in the global market.
Okay, let's look at wheat. Wheat futures down 0.74%, and you say lower global wheat is positive for domestic price of flour. So are we likely to see the price of bread come down, even though I'm not a fan of bread?
Well, it's unlikely. Yes, global wheat prices have come down because, or are likely to decline because Canada's output is projected to increase to a 7-year high. But now, what is happening in the domestic flour market? The major factor there is the exchange rate again. So because we import this commodity, so fine, wheat prices are falling, but then the exchange rate has weakened significantly, so our import bill has increased. Not only has the currency been adjusted, the Forex is not even available, so most manufacturers are actually adopting a blended rate of the power market and the investor-exporter window. So fine, to an extent, the price decline globally may limit how much price increase we're going to see in the price of flour, but then still, it's still very expensive. Right now, a bag of flour costs about 13,500, and it's likely to increase in the next couple of weeks because of these Forex restrictions and rationing and the impact on commodity prices. And what you're going to see for commodities that, commodities such as bread, you might still, what you see is that your loaf of bread might actually become lighter because, again, manufacturers have to weigh the options of, do I pass on the full cost to consumers, bearing in mind that the consumer disposable income has also fallen. So consumers are not going to be demanding as much. So what they're most likely going to do is maybe reduce the quantity so you have a lighter loaf of bread, basically.
Talking about the foreign exchange market, yes, Naira is still having a free fall kind of in the parallel market, and this is despite the new rule, this diaspora or remittances, which is supposed to, of course, bring
Forex,
bring liquidity. But do you think that is really having much impact?
Oh, well, what we're seeing right now in the Forex market, it seems like there's a lot of policy ambiguity. The CBN had initially come out to state that, oh no, we're restricting diaspora remittances, and now it has retraced its steps. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And to an extent, yes, it's supposed to boost liquidity. But again, that is still, there's that trust deficit right now. Investors are looking at the markets, are looking at policy authorities. What signal are you sending? So there's that trust deficit. And also in terms of the fact that our oil receipts are dropping. So even if remittances, now you can send your remittances and receive it in dollars. Again, the people that are sending this money, we know that unemployment in a lot of global economies have risen because of the COVID effect. So it's still going to play a major issue. And then there's that anticipation that the currency is still going to be adjusted. We know that at the investor and exporter window, we've seen the exchange rate move from 360 to 380, now to 390, 395. So there's expectation that the CBN would unofficially move the official rate towards that figure, and we might see a convergence around 390, 400. So a lot of speculative activity is still going on in the Forex market.
Okay, Dami, we'll leave it at that. We still have Thursday to talk more because Christmas is coming.
Yes.
And a lot of food commodities seem to be skyrocketing. Now they say commodity like onion seem to be the gold of today. But this is not a topic for today. We'll talk about that. And Thursday is always a pleasure to have you
Thank you
on the show.